What if burnout wasn't a problem to fix, but a signal guiding you toward deeper alignment with life? The Practice Podcast invites you to explore how aligning with your energy can transform your connection to yourself, your relationships, and your work. Through real stories, data-driven insights, and life-centered tools, each episode helps you tune into your body's signals and create life-affirming change from the inside out. Welcome to the Practice Podcast. And welcome back. So I have my dear friend, Erin Heidenreich, and practice member. I felt so gratified to learn that she actually wanted to come and participate. And Erin and I, just for full transparency, we've known each other for many years. We've been in what I would call the work for many years, meaning we have a shared interest of personal development in order to reduce our personal and collective suffering. And Erin has a particular interest as well in regenerative. And so thank you, Erin, for taking the time to talk with me and let people in on how the experience has been in the practice. And as honest as you can be, truly, like, what made you interested in what I was doing? Because our friendship existed probably before you had a full understanding of what we were building. So what kind of brought you over into the place where you wanted to participate?
Great question. I think it was going hand in hand with me wanting to understand myself more. And as I started to do that inner work, as I started to, get curious and see all these patterns that were happening in my life, whether it was with work or relationships. And, I went to go start seeing a therapist who was amazing. And then I've always felt intuitively that a lot of this is taking place within our bodies. And a lot of stuff I know was stored in my body from childhood trauma. And so as you're so body-centric and everything else, right? I think I was drawn to just wanting to know more, understand myself more. I think I spent a lot of my life really yearning to know myself better. And so, I came over to this side.
And how has your experience been, tracking not just subjectively in your own personal observations or with your therapist, but now having data points? How has that been?
Yeah, it's been really informative. I think in the beginning when I first started to track, or I would first start to look at the number, and then I would check in with myself. Does that feel right? It's almost like, I wasn't totally bought in yet. I was like, I'm seeing, is this correct in my body? And then after some time, then I started to trust in the system because it was giving me data that felt very accurate to my experience. And then the sort of the next leg, and I think one that I'm definitely still in, is then really trying to fine tune and modulate with knowing that information. Like, what can I do in my daily life to bring overall more energy to my life? And that's where I'm at right now.
And I think it's important to name that the industry that you work in specifically is an industry that is riddled with burnout. And that industry is the television and film industry. And so we're going to get into it a little bit more later, but if you can just maybe give us some orientation about that process of reconciling the dimension of work with your personal health and energetic needs.
Yeah, that has probably been my journey the last few years. I'm a film director, a commercial director, and, most of my colleagues and everyone would agree that when you're in production, it just totally burns you out and it pulls from all areas, emotionally, physically, spiritually, everything. And then when I'm not in production, I get into taking care of myself and I'm doing yoga every day and I'm eating healthy, relatively good sleep. And then, every time I get back to a production, it all goes to hell. And for many years, I was like, well, this is just the cycle of what it is, just acceptance. But it became not okay for me. It's like I didn't how can I participate in an industry in my line of work that's literally being destructive to myself? Like that felt like a huge gaping hole the more I started to pay attention to what my body needed and what I needed. And honestly, for a while there, starting a few years ago, I was really questioning, like, should I even stay in this industry? Should I even continue to do what I'm doing when it's literally felt like it was destroying me on so many levels? Um, and that was a big question for me. And then I started to kind of look around at my peers or look around at people, maybe more mentors, the people who have been in the business longer. And I started constructing this theory that the people who stay in this business the longest are the ones who have the greatest capacity for being masochistic to themselves. And they can just take a lot of pain. And I think there's actually a lot of people go around with a sort of a badge of honor with being able to, deal with that line of work. And I think I did too, honestly, for sure in my 20s, and people used to almost refer to me as the machine because I just could go and go and go. And as I started to take care of myself, pay attention to myself more, yeah, I had to do a deep questioning. Like, how do I stay in this? Is this even right for me? And, with a lot of um, pain and indecision because I also love creating. And I love being able to make stories and create experiences that are regenerative to other people, that inspire other people, that are hopefully bringing new perspectives and even more, potentially even more love to people who watch these stories. But if the process behind the camera was so debilitating to the people who are involved, like truly to be in alignment, how can I actually make something that's going to inspire others or be, nourishing to others who watch it on the other end of the screen?
The ends aren't justifying the means.
Yeah.
It's like it needs an living regenerative. And would you say that you're a part of the regenerative movement? Like, have you gotten to the point where you're like, that feels natural to say or authentic to say?
It definitely feels authentic to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you're a part of the regenerative movement, the bar is high. It's really high in terms of how we need to think about facilitating energy.
Mm-hmm.
And it has to be like every in a business framework, it's that you're trying to create life-affirming ripple effects through the entire stakeholder chain. The entire stakeholder chain. That's like the bar. And it's incredibly ambitious. And I'm here for it because I believe that when you can design a system where the channels are open and everything is flowing, that it can happen almost on its own, that we are embedded with something that is so self-generating if we learn how to align with that force with a lot more perception and commitment. And I think it's the call of our lifetime. And there's so much pain that we're also seeing that we're trying to respond to through the regenerative movement. But I'm curious about how you then, because what I heard was in the past, it felt like I just had to accept that the industry is going to be the industry, and it's just going to burn people out. And it's a bunch of masochists or people that just can't find a boundary to save their life. But now I'm hearing something else. I'm hearing, no, I'm choosing to stay in it because I might be a part of the change. Am I hearing you right?
You're hearing me right. No small feat, but yeah. And I want to be part of the change. And honestly, there's no choice. I want to live a healthy life. I want to live as long as, this body allows me to live on this planet. And that other way of being wasn't working for me. But I still want to make films. So I am trying to find my way through it. And, little bits here and there that, I feel like there's changes I'm making in productions, mostly where I think I have more agency within the production. But I mean, it is a system steeped in, as you know, the mechanistic, like, literally we have the line items in a budget, the line on the call sheet, every single dollar, every single minute is accounted for in most productions with a huge weight of the cost, going into every decision you make on set, and a lot of pressure, and our jobs and our livelihood, like on the line for all of these decisions. So it is a tough, old, entrenched, dense system. But hey, I've never done anything that's easy. So, one step at a time.
One step at a time.
Yeah.
One step at a time. And is there any tangible change that you could even name right now? Like, I used to do this and now I do this.
Yes, I would say in the relationship building, in the early stages, having the conversation with other people about what is our intention and how we'd like to do this shoot, what we want to bring to it. It's just a little bit of something. I can't always, change the whole schedule and everything depending on, everybody's energetic levels those days. But at least stating that. And I've even found, like, with that production that I had Source be a part of, it was a really short production. It was one that I didn't have a lot of control over, but just by bringing the app and having people and talking to the crew members about it and having them take their score, I had people come up to me with so much appreciation, just saying, "Oh, I've never even had a director who seemed to care about our health before." And so you just wonder, on a very subtle level, is even just the acknowledgement of, like, we're paying attention to this, making a difference.
Mm-hmm. And again, I want to speak from a grounded, practical level. When it comes to performance, you can have acute phases where you are in a consistent push mode, and it's not going to totally devastate the system, but it has to be acute. So when we are thinking through how to design an industry for regenerative, I just think about how we can help people get more resourced going in. So pre-pro looks a little bit different. Give people right knowledge and support so they can get really resourced for the inevitable push of production time. And then give some good aftercare, man. Some good post-production aftercare. And if you can offer that field of care to your cast and crew, they're not going to want to do business with anybody else, and then you will hit, I think, that higher mark. But again, it's so much easier said than done. And this is going to be the work of our lifetimes.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why friendship is important.
Mm-hmm.
Good people and good friends that are kind of doing it alongside of each other in parallel industries. It's super helpful. And that's why the community components are so important. Let's talk about you and your personal practice. Because here's the other thing, is that the more established you get in your personal practice, the more impactful you will be as a change agent in your workplace. And I see you dedicating so much time and heartfelt work to your practice, not just Sources, the practice, but also just your personal interior. Like, you're really doing it. And it's felt, through your friendship groups and no doubt your family groups. And I would assume your work circles as well. When we got together for a one-on-one sesh in the practice membership, we always are looking for that growing edge commitment that we can make, that if we were able to do that, it unkinks the hose. And would you be open to stating what that commitment was that you made?
Yes, it was to openly and transparently speak to a colleague about what I was feeling and what we were working on.
Beautiful. So this thing about, and this was in the connection to me dimension, and it was action. there was something that when we were looking at the stages of behavior change, it was like, oh, I'm willing to look at my energy. I am aware of how it's coursing through my body. I'm actually able to even articulate what it is that I feel. Oh, where I'm slipping off is I'm not speaking it. I'm not taking aligned action to speak it. And I can feel that it's shutting down the channel. It's creating a friction. So how did that go? Were you able to keep that commitment to yourself?
I did. Yes.
And how was it?
So much easier than I thought. There was so much, those internal stories that you tell yourself. But even before that, it honestly, I wasn't consciously not speaking to this person at all until we had that session. And then I realized that there was that that chokehold almost on some sort of thing that was happening inside of me. And, like many difficult things in life, the fear of doing it was much bigger than the actual doing it itself.
Totally.
And then there's a release afterward.
Did you see any evidence in data for it? Like, did going through the act, did you experience a load? Or after you had the conversation, was there any buoyancy or uptrend that was created?
It felt like there was just maybe a tiny bit of a pop, but then I went into production.
Yeah.
So, it's like that.
Yeah. By the way, what is your energy status today?
Maintain.
And then what has the trend been over, I don't know, the last couple weeks for you or last month?
My trend has been a little bit odd because I was really sick. I had the flu for a couple weeks. And so that
and not just any flu. You said, I don't think I've ever had the flu before now. Like this was like the real deal.
I had no idea. I thought it was like a rough cold or something. No, I was flat out on my back, 103 fever, pain everywhere.
And you still had the wherewithal to take your score during that?
Most of the time.
Wow.
Well, this is the other thing that I realized that I really love about it, that it's a new thing in my life that I'm starting to think about, which is the idea of how habits are actually in alignment with like the sort of natural rhythms of life. Like, obviously I know that habits are like usually like a good thing, but I think I was really stuck for a while in the idea of we need to do things differently all the time to kind of like change our neural pathways and to like be more creative and more intelligent. But there's also something really helpful, I think, about having that daily practice, as it's called, every day. So yeah, also like what else was I doing? I was waking up in a bed every morning, rolling over on different sides of my bed for most of the day. So that to be able to just like put my finger on the little thing and take it for a minute, I could do that. And it was a connection. It was like one of my only connections with the outside world during that process.
Did your HRV, did it drop before you became symptomatic? Do you remember? Or was it like the first day that you got symptomatic, you experienced the drop?
I think it was the first day.
The first day.
Yeah.
It just picked it up.
Yeah.
And then how big was the drop?
I don't remember the points, but it was dramatic. I was seeing scores, and I can't remember now, but they were so low that I've never seen them before at all. Like, wow. Yeah. And consistently very, very low. That first maybe 5 to 7 days.
And you're totally rebounded from that experience.
Yeah. Well, it's been so since then I started to have a lot of push for many days after that. And then it was a little bit like, up and down. And what happened then is I went into a shoot back down to recover for a bit. And now I'm coming back to maintain.
Yeah. And is observing how you're cycling your energy, does it allow you when you go into a recover, does it allow you almost to trust recover more now? Like, yeah.
100%. Like, yes. So just even yesterday, I had all these plans. Not even that difficult, but I wanted to just go on a hike and be out in nature. And I woke up and had such a low recover score again. And even though a hike may not sound like a lot, like where I live, there's like the mountains, and it actually can be a bit much. And so I was like, I think even though I really want to do that, and I could just feel in my body, but the score always like helps you validate it, right? I was like, I think I just need to be outside and maybe stretch. Like I was like, I don't think I have to do this whole mountain hike. And so, yeah, it's a validation. It actually makes me feel, I guess like I can trust my body more.
So many things I want to talk to you about. Okay, so let's bring this section home with, is there anything right now that you have been experiencing? Maybe you're seeing it in data that's illuminating an edge.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything that you've been observing that's illuminating an edge?
The data, but also like our one-on-one that we had, I think was really is a whole new thing for me, honestly, which is this idea of not, I'm playing with this right now and observing if I'm withholding and not like speaking something to somebody else, is that affecting my score? And this is just brand new. So I only have like a week's worth of data to really look at from this. But I think it is right now. Like right now, I feel that there is a group of people that I am feeling a contraction around and I'm stressed about. And I want to see if we're on the same page with how we're doing this next production. And my score has been a bit lower also the last couple of days. So I reached out yesterday to set up a call time. So I have to do it tomorrow. And I'm curious to see after we have this conversation, what will happen with the data and how will I feel?
Thank you for bringing that up, because you're hitting upon why I feel very compelled to combine the biometrics with the subjective surveying tools, because I don't want people to think that they can biohack their way into aligning with their authenticity. I don't think you can. I don't think you can biohack your way into authenticity. And I really believe, I'm pretty convinced, it's just an opinion, but I'm pretty convinced that when you are living authentically, your baseline is higher. Authenticity and HRV are mirrors. And when you are not living from your place of deep authenticity, you are creating friction. And I think that that is an innate feedback mechanism of life that we can actually feel when we are misaligned. And that is our natural design telling us, hey, man, let's live, from our knowing. And I don't know. That's, yeah, please.
No,
Something's on the tip of your tongue.
I have so much. I mean, well, I just want to say I have full body chills as you were saying that. What is the phrase again? Like if you're living authentically,
Yeah.
How would you finish that? Like it's your baseline energy is higher.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the part I had full body chills about because that feels intuitively right. And it's also reminding me of just like us, like yesterday morning, even though I had a low recover score, I was doing my morning ritual, having my tea, stretching a bit. And I just felt so in my body and I felt myself truly, authentically. And then I thought about this, oh God, am I going to set up this call thing? I don't want to do, I have to do, I don't know. And I start to pay attention. I think it was actually because I was listening to your podcast with you and Christy. And you were talking something about like the specificity of what you feel in your body. Because I try to pay attention to my body a lot, but the idea of being really specific. And I could just feel as my thoughts turn to like this call I should or should not have with these other people, just the contraction right here.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm like, I don't want to feel like this. I don't want to feel in contraction about the people I'm working with or the things I need to do. I mean, of course, contraction happens, but it was a signal. I should say it that way. It was a signal to me that there's something there and a signal of that energetic, flow maybe being constricted.
Mm-hmm.
And so I love the idea of thinking about what is a life lived when you're in your authentic self, like what happens to energy. That's just a really fun thing to play with and pay attention to.
Yes.
Like moving forward.
Yes. I'm pretty convinced.
I feel that, I like to look at the data. I like to look at my own experience. Yes. I hear you and I trust you.
The authenticity experiment, but I think why the practice is really important is because people have lost the skill of being authentic. They don't even know. They've been so conditioned by the game, or this is how I win, or this is how I succeed, or this is how I get safety, that authenticity is like far down on the list when that's the game you're playing. But I'm playing the vitality game. I'm playing the regenerative game. I played the other games, and I'm happy I played those games, but they hit a point where they were no longer satisfying. This one feels deeply satisfying because I don't know what is going to emerge through me authentically, because life is being born through me every day. And I'm like, oh, that feels like a little scary, very exhilarating, and at the very least, alive.
Yes.
You just feel alive. Like I am a conduit for life, but I have to be willing to unlearn consistently, and like what my mind or what the condition or what the patterns are. But the more I grow in relationship to my tuning fork and resonance and the language of energy, the more prepared I feel for, I'm just going to say something so cheesy, for changing the world.
I'm with you. I am right there with you.
Because if it isn't, us that's willing to go through a full metamorphosis, how's this world going to go through that metamorphosis? And we all know that this world really wants a metamorphosis, or at least a portion of it.
Yeah.
Of this world
Yeah.
wants to go full butterfly. Any final thoughts on what you've experienced or what you would want people to know before we conclude?
I think the only thing, not the only thing, but one of the things I really would want people to know is just trying to say this in a way that's not negative, but I can't think of it. So this is like for people who are a bit maybe on the edge of being like, this sounds woo-woo and energy, and they have these different ideas of like, is this too far out there? Like the reason I really love this, even though I can go in all different directions, is that it's so grounded, this whole practice, in your body and with real data. So even though there's a lot of different ways in which you can interpret this data and incorporate it into your life, it's like literally the key to looking at your vitality. And so I think I want people to just ground themselves in that.
Yeah.
If they're considering this.
Yeah. Thank you, Erin.
Yeah.
Appreciate you so much.
So fun.